Hello, hello, hello from Shanti Centre. I am coming live today to speak to Morven Hamilton, who lives in Weston-super-Mare and trains yoga teachers to work with people with cancer. And she's also running a workshop for our ATTC. And here she is. So she's just joined us. I'm going to see if I can invite you now, Morven. I'm inviting you to come live and you can accept there and then we can chat. Wonderful. Okay, you've sent me a request too. I will.
Hi, thank you. I'm in.
Yay, how are you doing? Happy Saturday.
Yeah, really well, thank you. How's Italy?
It's good to see you. I never get to see you anymore, so it's good to actually see your face.
Yes, yeah, actually moving faces. It's good.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Oh, good. Have you taught today already?
I have, yeah, just finished class this morning. Yeah, had a
online.
So, yes, just online on Saturdays. Yeah, it's a pretty lazy day.
Nice, nice. Oh well, thank you so much for sparing us the time. I'll just introduce you, and then you can go ahead. I think there's a bit of a delay, so I'll do an introduction, and then I'll let you just carry on. And I've got a few questions, but if you want to just carry on, that's fine. If there's a natural pause, I'll chip in. Let's see how we go.
Okay.
All right, so Morven Hamilton from Weston-super-Mare. I don't know if that's where you're from originally, but that's where you live now. And you run yoga for cancer trainings for yoga teachers, and obviously you teach to people who are recovering from cancer or living with cancer. So that's what I'm interested in today. You also run holistic yoga teacher trainings, 200 hours, and probably loads of other things that you can tell us about that I don't know about, which is amazing. And so today I wanted to talk about a little bit about your work with cancer and how you came to do that work, how it manifests in your life, how classes look and how trainings look. So over to you.
Okay, thanks, Steph. Yeah, well, I sort of going back to the beginning of how I came into doing yoga for cancer. Well, I became a yoga teacher just because I was really interested in sort of therapeutic applications of yoga, and I just thought it had so much amazing potential to help people on all levels. So that was my motivation in doing my teacher training initially, and so I naturally sort of progressed to sort of restorative and therapeutic work after that. And then I had an opportunity to train with a woman called Susie Hatley, who was visiting from Canada, and she started a yoga for cancer program in Canada, and which was really successful. So she came over to Britain to train teachers over here, and I was lucky enough to do her training in 2010. So after that, I started working at Penny Cancer Care, which is an amazing cancer care centre in Bristol, where I was living at the time. So I started doing their yoga programs, and then eventually just started running more programs. And I just saw that it really, really, really helped people cope with their treatment, cope with what happens after treatment as well, sort of when you come to the end of healthcare. And then there are those years where you're still on your yoga journey, but you don't have the medical support anymore. And so that's where the mindfulness really started coming into my work, because it was the mindfulness that was really helping people to cope with sort of the day-to-day living with the aftermath of cancer and the possibility of recurrence and so on. So yeah,
and a lot of anxiety about upcoming appointments as well. All that anxiety every time you have to go for a checkup
waiting for results. I mean, I started recording classes and recording podcasts and meditations so people could take them into hospital with them, and they would listen to them while they were sort of waiting for their results or waiting for their treatments. So yeah, I then trained as a mindfulness teacher as well, and I sort of blended yoga and mindfulness. And I, that sort of developed over the course of about 6 years at Penny. And then I started working for them as a course facilitator as well. So they run an amazing course called Living Well with the Impact of Cancer, which looks at the whole person. That's their whole ethos. It's a whole person approach. where they look at how cancer, it just doesn't just affect the body, it affects relationships, financial situation, just relationship to the world, relationship to spirits, and affects the whole community. And so I started working in a very holistic way then, and working with groups, not really doing yoga, but looking at all the other ways that we could help people cope with cancer. And so then was born the Healing the Whole Person Yoga for Cancer course, which I now run. So that's been running for the last few years. It runs as a teacher training. And I also do sort of CPD, which I'll be doing for your amazing course coming up next year, Steph. So I'll be teaching a module on that. So that will be a workshop, really. So it'll be a potted version of what I teach in the training, which will be helping teachers to to understand the person with cancer, like what that actually means for somebody, so physically, but also mentally and emotionally, and also welcoming people into class, knowing how to welcome people into class and how to work with people individually, and also in a group setting, how to create courses. So yeah, I mean, there's it's quite in depth in that there's so many facets to it, because we have to know how to keep people safe physically in a class if they're going through treatment, know what might be the effects of the treatment that they're going through. And cancer is such a huge thing. I mean, there's over 100 different diseases really that we call cancer. Yes. So
you have to kind of know so much, or at least a little bit about, the main ones, I guess, because there are common ones and there are, obviously ones that there's more being discovered all the time. But at least if I think that, the whole ethos of accessible yoga and making yoga welcoming is to start conversations with people anyway. And if a teacher is just taught how to welcome to begin with, then there's time then to research and to go on courses and let your teaching evolve. So, a lot of people you can have a little overview of everything, and then your teaching practice will kind of point you in the direction of where you're being. You'll either have an experience yourself of something like this, or have people around you experiencing something like this, and then you almost become niche in that way, because you become a pro, because you just had to kind of quickly research everything. I mean, that's how a lot of these trainings have come out, just through personal experience of yoga teachers like ourselves, that have just had to, suddenly been put into situations where there's someone in our class or in our lives that we want to support, and our normal teaching can't support that, so we have to kind of up our game. So your trainings for yoga teachers, are they online or in person or both? I'm interested in that at the moment.
In person. I know, well, things have changed, haven't they? So the Yoga for Cancer training is in person, but because of the pandemic, there were several people last time who couldn't join physically because they were coming from abroad, and so they did the training online. So yeah, I mean, I do offer it as an option, but strongly recommend that people do attend in person, because I think you just get so much more out of it in person.
Right.
Yeah, and I've done sort of online more sort of information shares, really, for people interested in learning more. But to do the really deep work, I think it has to happen really safe face to face.
Yeah, in a nice, safe community. So I'm very excited. So you're in January. You're offering your workshop in January. Are you the Saturday or the Sunday? I can't remember. Do you remember?
I can't remember.
And all the details are on the website. Who knows what's happening in January? But at some point in January, on either a Saturday or a Sunday, as part of the 300-hour, Morven is coming to give us a workshop. And that'll be brilliant, because we're doing little tasters on this course. It's a full accessible training, but obviously it's a taster of the most common things you might find as a yoga teacher that you might want to go more in depth. So we've got the Nidra, we've got the Yoni Shakti, we've got accessible yoga, we've got a little bit of chair yoga, we've got restorative yoga, and we've got this yoga for cancer. And we're trying to kind of include things that are very common in yoga. And I think also to be able to move yoga out of the kind of very heavily postural, physical-based practice, integrating more mindfulness, more pranayama, more, like I was speaking to Jyoti last week about the special yoga for children that she's running, and how she says that these practices that we are teaching as yoga for cancer or yoga for special populations or accessible yoga are actually techniques that every one of us are going to need moving forward into the future. Because who knows, the impact of COVID, lockdown and fear, and, losing loved ones, and having to stay a little bit away to protect other people or yourself. So now we're going to be using these techniques that we think, are only for special populations, are only for people who are ill. It's our job now to integrate them more into a normal yoga class and to represent them. So the more we can bring them into, mainstream yoga, I think the better. So, all these techniques, mindfulness and pranayama and restorative yoga, they're not just for poorly people anymore, are they? They're for...
No, absolutely not. No.
I'd be screwed up without them right now, definitely, especially, going through all these processes of change. Like what we're all seeing at the moment is this kind of the unknown, change happening constantly, which, a person in times before COVID who may be diagnosed with cancer is seeing.
Yes.
And we're all seeing it, so we're all feeling it, and so these are going to be tools for life, really. So I'm so happy that you're able to share it with us, and I'm very excited to work. I mean, you've got your 200 hours starting at Sacred Space. I saw that Karina had joined us. If you're still here, Karina, hi.
Karina.
Thank God for Karina. So you're running your thing in November. Your holistic yoga teacher training starting in November at Sacred Space, which is our lovely friend Karina's centre. And then in January, you're doing our module for our ATTC. So is there anything else you want to talk about? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, have you got any stories, anecdotes, without naming real names, like maybe think where you've actually seen how it's been useful, like, people really feeling the benefits of this practice, the practices that you offer to real people living this situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can think of a couple. There's a woman who came to class at Pennybron, who she started off at Pennybron and then she started coming to lots of other classes, and she had terminal cancer. She's no longer with us, sadly. She's still very much missed. It was just, it was really powerful experience sort of being with her on her yoga journey, because she just really absorbed it and she got so much out of it. And her, she came because she was physically uncomfortable with her tumor. She had a large tumor in her stomach, but actually what she took from it was a daily meditation practice, which she sort of carved out of her day, and it was really beautiful and really powerful to see how much she embraced that, and how it just really became a companion for her for the last few weeks, and it was really a transformative experience for her. So people come because their doctors told them to come because they want to do some gentle exercise or whatever, and then they get so much more out of it. And some people, not everybody's open to the spiritual, but many people do find a spiritual connection through yoga that they wouldn't otherwise have found. And I still have people coming to class who were at my very first class at Pennybron, like 11 years ago or something, and they're still, there's like 10 years past treatment, but it's still helping them,
Amazing.
It means something. Yeah.
Wow. And I think, the spiritual aspect, you're going to have to confront it at some point, because it really, you're face to face with your own death, which in a way we have that opportunity every single day, but we forget conveniently. And in this situation you do. So like you say, not everyone wants to embrace that spirituality, but some comfort maybe, to be able to even look down that road that you've been avoiding, not necessarily your fault avoiding, but we're trained to avoid it, right? No one wants to think about the end of life. And when I did a yoga for cancer training, and it was it kind of did lead into this kind of the death doula or the, what they call something, soul midwifery, and, you know, Joan Halifax's book, Being with Dying, which I think you know about as well, that kind of having to open that as a yoga teacher, that did, I mean, getting goosebumps now, like, you know, we can talk about the work and the help we're going to do to other people, but as, you know, a personal journey, doing this kind of training is such a transformational tool for yourself as a yoga teacher that then you can offer to other people. But, you know, opening that door just even a tiny bit to the possibility of, you know, how it's going to be in the organization you need to make, you know, physical organization, financial organization, and spiritual, like making peace. Hugely transformational for me, and it's hugely transformational to, you know, our clients, those who don't make it and those who do. You know, it's like you say, it's like amazing that you've got the stories of how it helped the terminal aspect, but also how it continues to help 10 years later, because there's no answers, and there's no, you know, saying whether, you know, it's going to cure your cancer. Obviously, there's absolutely no cure-all, but it helps to sit in that space that you have been, you know, those cards that you have been dealt, and I think that is really, really tough. So if we can help be there, but I, you know, personally, as a transformational tool for my practice and how I view all yoga practice, from that moment on, it was like, whoa, this is yoga, you know. So I'm really happy. Birch Moon's joined us. She said, vital and precious work. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you know that person,
Serena.
Morven?
It's Serena. Yes, I recognise her. Hello, Serena.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Go on, you.
And, yeah, as you say, it is yoga, isn't it? Those big questions are yoga. All these huge questions of identity, and am I this sort of fixed entity, you know, that I think of myself as, or am I something else? And, you know, can I peel off some of the layers? And I think once you've had a diagnosis, you know, you're kind of catapulted into those big questions and all that uncertainty. And like you say, we're going through it on a global scale at the moment with the pandemic. We're all living with not really knowing what's going to happen next. And yeah, they're the really big questions of yoga. And so, you know, we do grapple with those in the course.
And there's no framework. There's no cultural framework for it. Like you said before, like quite a lot of this work begins when we're discharged from hospital.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, everything's okay now, off you go. And it's not okay. My soul's not okay. My mind's not okay. I'm freaking out. And there's no, you know, there's no guidebook for these times either. So it can really offer that kind of way of, you know, that isn't in any of the other books. It's not in our cultural conditioning to deal with questions like this. And you know, yoga, the tools of yoga, and probably lots of other, you know, amazing deep spiritual philosophies, they offer this kind of, you know, a little bit of a guide, and they invite us to look inside and see if there are some answers, and it's really vital and precious work, like.
yeah I mean, it's a preparation for death, really, isn't it? I'm putting it bluntly.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will let you go, and I'm so excited. In January, Morven is running our Yoga for Cancer workshop for the ATDC. The link's on my bio, and Morven is Yoga by Nature UK on Instagram and on Facebook, and so check out all of her stuff. And if you're watching this on the replay and you want to make comments or ask us questions, we'll still be able to get back to you. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Morven. And hopefully I'll see you at a circle. I just booked in for Rachel's circle in September. So if I'm lucky, and that works.
Okay,
If
yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that.
I'll see you at a crossover at some point.
Yeah, well, have a lovely rest of your summer. I hope it's nice there.
It's lovely, and I kind of started to actually have a rest now, because I just came here and carried on working in a really beautiful place, but now I'm tired, and so I'm having another week of just chilling, and it's cooled down a bit, which is very nice. It's gone down to 30.
Okay.
Which is hilarious, isn't it?
Here.
Oh, ouch. That's going to be a shock when I get home.
Yeah.
Anyway, So nice to speak to you and see you in January, if not before, hopefully before. And thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah.
All right, take care, love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.